So would Jonathan Lewis here have been privileged to use deadly defensive force to defend himself against this attack? If he had a pistol on him, could he have pulled it lawfully and shot one or more of these attackers, continuing to use deadly defensive force as long as they present it as a deadly force threat? The answer is yes, incontestably. From a legal analysis perspective, and it's not a complicated legal analysis, things get more complicated from a tactical perspective. If you're being beaten on the ground and you pull out a pistol and you start shooting the 15 people beating you, do you even have 15 rounds in that gun? Are we just hoping they're all going to run away once you start shooting? Is someone going to pull out their own gun and shoot you while you're laying on the ground? Is someone going to decide to fight you for your gun? It's not that hard for one person, one aggressor, to strip you of your handgun if they can reach it and touch it. I promise you. If you carry a gun for personal protection and you've never taken a weapons retention course, I urge you to do it. You'll be shocked at how easy it is to strip a handgun from somebody. What if there's 10 people prepared to do that? Is there any way you're holding on to your handgun if they want to take it from you? No. If they're willing to fight you for it, that's their handgun. So I would remind all of you that the element of imminence of self-defense says you don't have to wait until you're actually being attacked, actually being struck, actually pummeled to the ground and being stomped and kicked in the head before you can defend yourself. You're allowed to defend yourself against the reasonably perceived threat that's immediately about to happen, the imminent threat. Now, of course, again, Jonathan Lewis was a high school student. He's not going to have a gun on him. So I'm not talking about him personally. I mean, once the gang decided to kill him, there was really nothing he could do to defend himself, to save his life. But those of you who carry guns for personal protection, when you're out in the world, if you're only going for the gun once you've been beaten to the ground or getting stomped in the head, I mean, what else are you going to do, I suppose? But that's not a very good situation to be in. Be aware of your environment. Be aware of if you're getting the attention of what appears to be a cohesive gang of aggressors. If they're flanking you, if they're closing on you, they're surrounding you, you're the target of their animus. And maybe be prepared to defend yourself before it's too late. Now, this can create factual issues, right? So what happens if you pull your gun and you fire a shot? Some of you might fire a warning shot. I don't recommend it. You may fire a shot into one of the aggressors, and then all the other aggressors run away at the sound of the gunshot, which would be a reasonable thing to do. Now, what's there when the police show up? There's you and a dead body. And you're saying an unarmed dead body, a child. Maybe your bullet struck a child who was 13 years old, who would have murdered you as part of that gang, like they murdered Jonathan Lewis. But that's what's there when the cops show up. You with a gun and a 13-year-old, especially you as a white guy with a gun and a 13-year-old black child. How's that look? And you say, well, it wasn't just him. There was a whole gang of people. But everyone evaluating your use of force in hindsight, after the fact, they don't know if that's true. They weren't there. The cops weren't there. The prosecutor wasn't there. The judge wasn't there. The jury wasn't there. What if it wasn't caught on videotape? What if it was caught on videotape, but the outcome is such that the people who have the videotape are not going to make it available? Remember the McCloskeys in St. Louis standing out in their front yard with their guns? The only video that was made of that event was from their antagonists, from the protesters. So the only video that got released to the public or to the authorities was video that made them look bad. You think there might have existed video with death threats being shouted at the McCloskeys, like they claim was being shouted at them? Sure. But you think the protesters are going to release video that's harmful to their cause and helpful to the McCloskeys? I doubt it. What if there was video of you defending yourself against a gang of people and you win that fight? You shoot one, you solve that individual problem, and the rest run away. And there's video of that gang attacking you, justifying your use of defensive force. You think that video is going to be released to the public, to the authorities? Maybe. Maybe not. So it becomes a question of, is there evidence for people to evaluate that supports your claim of being attacked by a group of people? Now, You can't really change your self-defense decision-making, right? If you don't win the physical fight, the legal issues become rather moot. I'd rather be defending myself in a self-defense case with less evidence than I'd prefer than be beaten to death on the street. I'm just mentioning it because these evidentiary considerations are something to think about. Of course, the best way to win this kind of fight, the best way to win any kind of fight, a gunfight, a knife fight, a murderous beatdown by a gang of 10 or 15 animals who will continue to beat and stomp you even when you're unconscious on the ground until they cause you so much brain injury you die in a coma a week later in the hospital. The best way to win any of those fights is to not be there. Now, of course, Jonathan Lewis didn't have that option. He's compelled to go to school with these people. But most adults have some option about where we go, where we travel, what company we place ourselves in. Most of America is very, very safe. There's really only a handful of urban centers, for the most part, that are exceptionally violent. The rest of America has about the violence and gun violence problem. Of course, guns don't commit acts of violence, folks, but you understand what I mean. Has the violence rate of Switzerland. So that doesn't mean you're absolutely safe anywhere, of course. Bad people can travel around too. But there are places that are much, much higher risk than other places, and perhaps not go to those high-risk places.